Mistaken love, a path of no return. Sang Xiang is my nominal sister, yet in reality, she is my child bride. After my father's passing, my mother, fearing that she might flee with another, resorted to drugging her and locking her in my room. This unfortunate act ultimately caused her to miss her true love forever. In a twist of fate, she later imprisoned my mother in the basement like a dog, forcing me into a state of despair, a captive to her whims. This lifetime, we shall never part. Are you satisfied now, brother? In a pool of blood, I opened my eyes once more, returning to the moment when my mother had drugged her. 1. Ugh. My hair was tugged back, forcing my head up as I lay on the ground. The chains on my ankles clinked ominously. Qin Xiang gazed at my pained expression, a shadowy smile gracing her lips. Qin Haoran, is starvation your method of suicide? For every day you refuse to eat, I shall torment your mother an extra day. I'm curious to see whether your resolve is stronger than your mother's. Sister. I numbly shifted my eyes, suddenly speaking. Qin Xiang's hand halted abruptly, her voice chilling. What did you call me? For over 2 decades, I had never addressed Qin Xiang as sister. Having been raised as a bride from childhood, how could I refer to her as sister? Yet today, I felt compelled to do so. Sister, I said, a faint smile tugging at my lips, my gaze growing increasingly hollow. 7 years, is it not enough? After the incident with the drug, Qin Xiang willingly married me. She treated my mother and me with utmost kindness, wholeheartedly managing the company alongside me. So serene was her demeanor that we believed she harbored no resentment. Until that fateful New Year's Eve, when she drugged us during dinner. While imprisoning my mother and me, she seized our shares, completely taking over my family's company. From that day forth, a vendetta named hatred persisted for 7 long years. Initially, I proposed divorce, sought compensation, and even attempted various forms of suicide. Ultimately, however, I was forced to relinquish all hope as Qin Xiang held my mother's life in her hands. Thus, my refusal to eat was not a matter of choice. It was an inability to consume anything. Terminal gastric cancer truly inflicted excruciating pain. Enough? Qin Xiang chuckled coldly, delivering a stinging slap to my face. Yet she then offered a bowl of warm porridge to my lips, compelling me to drink. Qin Haoran, what you owe me can never be repaid in this lifetime. Were you not afraid I would run away with someone else? I assure you, we shall never part in this life. Are you satisfied now, brother? Forced to consume half a bowl of porridge, I could not suppress the urge to vomit. Qin Xiang's expression darkened further as she tore open my shirt and mounted me. Refusing to eat, are we? Very well. Then let it continue. I truly could not comprehend. If Qin Xiang despised me, why had she not sought solace in another man over these 7 years? Instead, she resorted to drugging me, sharing my bed. As emotions surged, veins bulged on the back of my hand. While my body experienced pleasure, the agony within my mind doubled, until the metallic taste of blood surged from my stomach, no longer containable. Crimson spilled from my lips, splattering onto the pristine white sheets. Panic-laced Qin Xiang's voice echoed in my ears as she frantically wiped the blood from my mouth. Yet the more she wiped, the more it flowed. Qin Haoran, what's wrong with you? My body slumped as I gazed up at the dazzling crystal chandelier, a smile of release gracing my lips. Qin Xiang, in this lifetime we are even. Let my mother go. 2. My head swam, yet my body felt as if it were weighed down by some unseen force. I furrowed my brow and slowly opened my eyes. Before me loomed a familiar yet distant ceiling, leaving me momentarily bewildered. Am I truly still alive? Where has Qin Xiang brought me? This did not resemble a hospital, nor did it align with the confines of a room where she had imprisoned me for 7 years. It felt more akin to the home we once shared. Brother, I feel so hot. Qin Xiang's delicate breaths echoed in my ear. I trembled violently, goosebumps erupting across my skin. That my gaze darted down, colliding with her longing eyes. Qin Xiang appeared significantly younger, her eyes hazy, breath fragrant. Soft kisses landed upon my neck. Brother, you feel so cool and comforting. A thunderclap resounded in my mind, jolting me with intensity. This is reminiscent of the night when my mother drugged Qin Xiang. Surveying the room, recognizing the familiar decor, I could almost confirm this was indeed that very night. Sister, calm yourself. Look closely, I am Qin Haoran, your brother. Qin Xiang froze. Her dazed eyes lifted, staring at me in confusion for several seconds, her red lips pouting in discontent. She nuzzled closer to me, her hands becoming increasingly bold. Brother, I feel unwell. Please help me. As her hands pressed against her chest, I instinctively gasped. On this very day in my past life, I had suffered from stomach pain after taking my mother's medication. I lost my reason then. This time, I must not err again, misguided love without regret. Sang Xiang is my nominal sister, yet in truth, she is a child bride. After my father's demise, my mother, fearing that she might elope with another, resorted to administering drugs to her and confining her within my chamber. This unfortunate act inadvertently led her to forever miss out on her true love. In a twist of fate, she later imprisoned my mother in the basement, compelling me to endure a tortured existence under her control. This lifetime, we shall never part, she proclaimed. Are you satisfied now, brother? Amidst a pool of blood, I opened my eyes once more, returning to the moment when my mother had drugged her. Ugh. My hair was yanked back, forcing me to lift my head from the ground. The chains on my ankles clanged ominously. Qin Xiang gazed at my agonized expression, a shadow of a smile gracing her lips. Qin Haoran, is your hunger strike a plea for suicide? For every meal you forego, I shall ensure your mother suffers an extra day. Let us see whether your resolve is stronger than hers. Dear sister, I numbly moved my eyes and suddenly spoke. Qin Xiang's hand froze, her voice chilling. What did you just call me? For over 2 decades, I had never addressed Qin Xiang as sister. Having been raised as a wife since childhood, how could I ever refer to her as such? Yet today, I felt compelled to do so. Sister, I said, a faint smile curling my lips, my gaze increasingly vacant. Is 7 years not enough? Following the incident with the drugs, Qin Xiang willingly married me. She treated both my mother and me with utmost kindness, wholeheartedly managing our company alongside me. It was so serene that we believed she harbored no resentment. Until that fateful New Year's Eve, when she drugged us during the reunion dinner. While imprisoning my mother and me, she seized our shares and completely took over our family business. From that day forth, a 7-year-long vendetta, fueled by hatred, ensued. Initially, I suggested divorce, proposed compensation, and even attempted various forms of self-harm. Yet ultimately, I was coerced into relinquishing all hope, for Qin Xiang held my mother's life in her grasp. Therefore, my refusal to eat was not born of obstinacy, but rather an inability to do so. Terminal stomach cancer was truly unbearable. Is that enough? Qin Xiang chuckled coldly, striking me across the face. Yet she then offered me a bowl of warm porridge, compelling me to consume it. Qin Haoran, what you owe me shall never be repaid in this lifetime. Were you not concerned I might run away with someone else? I assure you, we shall remain together forever. Are you satisfied now, brother? I was forcibly made to drink half a bowl of porridge, only to uncontrollably vomit it back up. Qin Xiang's expression darkened further as she tore my shirt open and pressed herself upon me. So you refuse to eat? Very well. Let's continue. I truly could not comprehend. If Qin Xiang despised me so deeply, why had she not sought solace in another man over these 7 years? Instead, she chose to drug me and share my bed. As the tumult within me surged, veins bulged upon my hands. While my body experienced pleasure, the anguish of my mind doubled, until the metallic taste of blood surged forth, overwhelming me. Blood spilled from my lips, splattering onto the pristine white sheets. Qin Xiang's panicked voice echoed in my ears as she frantically wiped away the blood trickling from the corners of my mouth. Yet the more she wiped, the more blood flowed. Qin Haoran, what is happening to you? My body slumped, and as I gazed at the dazzling chandelier above, a sense of liberation washed over me. Qin Xiang, our debts are settled in this lifetime. Release my mother. My head spun, burdened as though something heavy pressed upon me. I furrowed my brow and slowly opened my eyes, only to be met with a familiar yet distant ceiling, leaving me momentarily stunned. Am I still alive? Or has Qin Xiang brought me? It did not resemble a hospital, nor did it look like the room where she had confined me for 7 years. Instead, it bore a striking resemblance to the home we once shared. Brother, I feel so hot. Qin Xiang's delicate breaths reached my ears, sending a shiver through my entire being. My gaze dropped hastily, colliding with a pair of tender, watery eyes. The youthful Qin Xiang appeared dazed, her breath fragrant as she peppered my neck with soft kisses. Brother, you feel so cool and comforting that a thunderclap resonated in my mind, causing me to tremble violently. This is eerily reminiscent of the night Qin Xiang was drugged by my mother. Scanning the room, I recognized the familiar decor and could scarcely believe this was indeed that very night. Sister, calm down. Look closely. I am Qin Haoran, your brother. Qin Xiang's body stilled abruptly. She raised her dazed eyes, gazing at me in confusion for a few seconds, her lips pouting in dissatisfaction. She nuzzled closer to me, her hands becoming increasingly bold. Brother, I feel unwell. Please help me. Her hands guided mine to her chest, and I involuntarily gasped. On this very day, in my past life, I had suffered from stomach pain after taking the medicine my mother provided. I had lost all reason. In this lifetime, I must not repeat the same mistakes. 3. When I found Guyen, she was cheerfully humming a tune as she strolled along the school path. The evening breeze tousled her hair, making her appear youthful and radiant, as dazzling as the stars. She has been my cherished light for over a decade. I approached her with a forced smile. Guyen questioned, "What's wrong? Aren't you heading back to the dorm to sleep?" I replied directly, "Guyen, are you acquainted with Lu Feng? His reputation is far from favorable." Guyen rolled her eyes. "Here we go again. Do you really care that much about my love life? I owe you nothing. We are merely neighbors, not betrothed." Her words struck my heart like a sudden pang. Nevertheless, I urged her, "Lu Feng is quite the womanizer. He has had numerous girlfriends. And he smokes, drinks, and fights. You mustn't, enough." Guyen interrupted sharply, glaring at me. "Do you think I'm unaware of who he is? Just moments ago, he dragged me into the men's restroom and forced me to smoke. I coughed until tears streamed down my face, and he just laughed heartily. Did you think I was distressed? No, I actually enjoyed it. I even opened my mouth to let him blow the smoke into it." A hint of shyness crept onto Guyen's face. I thought it would be disgusting, but it turned out to be quite pleasurable. I never imagined I would engage in such lewd behavior. As she spoke, her embarrassment grew, and her anger seemed to dissipate. I stared at her in disbelief. My jaw clenched tight. "Why would you do that?" My voice trembled and cracked. "Guyen huffed because I like him. This is the love I have always yearned for." Lu Feng makes my heart race and my cheeks flush. I couldn't care less about how unworthy or wicked he is. She paused, a smile tugging at her lips. "In fact, I could say I relish his flaws and wickedness. I have no interest in so-called nice guys. They're utterly dull." The nice guy she referred to was me. I stood frozen, my gaze cast down, my fingers trembling. A profound sorrow enveloped me. "All right, that's enough. Please don't bother me anymore. Otherwise, I shall never speak to you again." Guyen warned, then left, reveling in the remnants of the cigarette's scent, excitement radiating from her. 4. I watched her depart, returning to my dorm in a daze. My eyes reddened. I fought to suppress the ache in my heart, crushing the pang of bitterness within. In the latter half of the night, I dreamt of playing basketball, soaring with arrogance as Guyen cheered for me. I also dreamt of smoking and drinking, even tattooing a green dragon on my arm and dyeing my hair blonde. Guyen loved me more in that dream. She said I finally made her heart race. But suddenly, I awoke, shaking my head vigorously to dispel those visions from my mind. I could be lost, but I would not abandon my true self. I am not Lu Feng, nor do I wish to become him. I have my own path to tread. When dawn broke, I took a cold shower and rushed to morning study. Guyen was late again, having gone to deliver breakfast to Lu Feng, returning to class only after he finished eating. I refused to acknowledge her, burying myself in my studies to prepare for the impending college entrance exams. Satisfied that I was ignoring her, Guyen took out her phone to text and shielded our desks with a book. Firstly, to prevent myself from peeking, and, secondly, to avert detection by the teacher. I had no intention of eavesdropping as I steadily progressed toward my dream institution amidst the sweltering heat of summer. As the college entrance examination approached in 28 days, Guyen was struck. When she returned to the classroom, one side of her face was swollen and bruised, her hair disheveled, and her eyes glistening with tears. I remained silent. She sniffled and spoke, each one, "It hurts." Her long-lost words caused my pen to pause. I recalled how, throughout our lives, Guyen had always confided in me. When her toys were snatched, she would cry and plead for me to retrieve them. When someone consumed her spicy strips, she would sob and urge me to reclaim someone else's ice cream. If her parents scolded her, she would crouch beside me in tears, lamenting how much it hurt. Perhaps after 18 years, I had grown accustomed to her grievances, and thus my heart instinctively clenched. Indeed, bad habits are the hardest to break. I averted my gaze and merely uttered, "Oh." Lu Feng hit me. He lost the game today, and when another girl brought him water, I asked a question, and he suddenly exploded, slapping me. Everyone laughed at me. Guyen appeared pitiful, her tears falling onto the pages of her book. "Then just stay away from him. The exam is approaching, and your parents wish for you to attend a good university." I flipped through my book, responding casually. Guyen remained silent. I pointed to the blackboard, where the words 28 days until the college entrance examination loomed like a mountain, pressing upon everyone's shoulders. After a glance, Guyen finally nodded, saying, "All right, I will focus on studying and ignore Lu Feng. I want to take the university entrance exam with you. This declaration brought a sense of relief to my heart, and a faint smile graced my lips. After more than a decade of affection for Gu Yan, I still hoped for her well-being. I chuckled softly and immersed myself in a math problem, entering a state of oblivion. By the time I solved it, few students remained in the classroom, and dusk had fallen. Gu Yan had long vanished. I exhaled contentedly, wiped the sweat from my brow, and headed to the restroom. I had struggled with that problem for a solid 2 hours. The restroom was deserted, yet upon entering, I heard rustling from the far stall, as if someone were undressing. A familiar, yet shocking female voice drifted in like a dream. Lu Feng, you're so bad for coming here. I haven't forgiven you yet. Baby, please don't be angry. I was so upset about losing the game that I hit you. I apologize. Come here and give me a kiss. A chill coursed through my body, and my limbs became rigid. The momentary shock shattered my final psychological defense, trampling my years of tenderness and consideration into the filthy ground. Stomped upon, crushed, I stepped back, overwhelmed by discomfort that induced dry heaves, the acidity in my nose stirring the bitterness in my eyes. It was profoundly painful, yet difficult to articulate. Lu Feng's voice echoed again. Why is my baby so soft? Do you still want to kiss? Say something exciting. No, that's too embarrassing. Gu Yan's words contradicted her heart, her voice barely a whisper. Speak quickly. Tell me, does Zhou Yichuan fancy you? Is he gentle and considerate, a true, warm-hearted man? Why don't you love him? Lu Feng's voice dripped with mockery. Gu Yan remained silent. Lu Feng tightened his grip around her neck, threatening, answer me, or I'll strangle you. Gasping for breath, overwhelmed by shame and excitement, Gu Yan declared, I only love you. I would rather be toyed with by you, the scoundrel, than be the cherished one of that warm-hearted Zhou Yichuan. You're quite articulate. How thrilling. Lu Feng boasted, reveling in his conquest. I've stolen the top student's wife, and it feels damn good. Gu Yan, aflame with humiliation, retorted, I am not his wife. It's more stimulating if you are indeed his wife. Come on, say it. You are his wife. I want to kiss the wife of the top student. Lu Feng insisted, slapping Gu Yan with force. Defeated, she acquiesced. Fine. I'm Zhou Yichuan's wife. I numbly exited the restroom, blood streaming from my mouth. A result of biting my lip. Standing in the corridor, I fixed my gaze on the kapok tree in front of the teaching building. When the kapok blooms, the crimson fluff resembles blood, a sight cherished by both Gu Yan and me. She once pointed at the tree and said, Zhou Yichuan, these flowers are more romantic than you. You are just a gentle failure. But if I never find someone I truly like, I suppose I'll have to marry you. Are you swearing by the kapok tree? I asked, my heart hopeful. She nodded. Yes, I swear. Perhaps I can only marry you in this life. Her words, often carefree, were inscribed in every cell of my heart. I turned, my gaze fixed like a wolf's on the restroom, staring at the dimming entrance in the twilight. Resembling a gaping abyss, an abhorrent abyss. A man's growth indeed occurs in an instant. Such a vile habit as love can also be discarded in a moment. Even after a decade of devotion, I took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. The bleeding from my lips had ceased, and the bitterness in my eyes had faded. I merely stared at that loathsome abyss. At last, Lu Feng and Gu Yan emerged from the depths, hand in hand, their faces flushed and satisfied. Upon noticing me, they were momentarily startled. Gu Yan froze, her pupils dilating, instinctively stepping back. Lu Feng, slightly awkward, quickly adopted a nonchalant and triumphant demeanor, flashing me a broad grin as he led Gu Yan away. She followed, glancing back at me anxiously. In our exchanged glances, I harbored nothing but disdain and hatred. It seemed she sensed my emotions, her steps faltering, her face a mask of conflict and uncertainty. Yet, she could utter no words, for Lu Feng forcefully pulled her downstairs. Once in the stairwell, Gu Yan meekly pleaded, Wait, I need to talk to Zhou Yichuan. What nonsense! I want to smoke, you go buy some outside. Just come up with an excuse. The security will let you out. I requested a seat change from the homeroom teacher, relocating to the farthest corner from Gu Yan. This way, I could prepare for the college entrance examination with greater peace of mind. Day and night, I dedicated myself to my studies, relentless in my pursuit. Occasionally, when I lifted my gaze to drink water, I sensed someone observing me. The glance emanating from my former seat was imbued with unease and remorse. Yet, I had no time to heed it. A note was tossed my way. Yichuan, I am truly sorry. I didn't mean to say those things. I was merely joking with Lu Feng. I crumpled the note and discarded it into the trash, instructing my classmates nearby not to pass any more messages on my behalf. I erected a formidable wall around myself, severing the connection to her, who once seemed so distant. At last, only a day remained before the Gaokao. The prelude to summer had unfurled, with the cicadas chorus outside and my school uniform, soaked with sweat, marking a significant chapter in the annals of youth. This chapter would determine the fates of many. In the margins of my textbook, I inscribed the characters Peking University with great emphasis. Meanwhile, Guyan was likely still writing Lufeng. The final time Guyan approached me was on the eve of the Gaokao. She stood at my doorstep, her figure shrouded in the dim glow of the motion sensor light. Upon my return from evening study, I spotted her standing there, solitary. A wave of disdain surged within me. Had it not been for the need to return home, I would have preferred to ignore her. As I walked toward her, Guyan waved. "Ichuan, are you heading home too?" I merely acknowledged her with a grunt. She offered an awkward smile. "Ichuan, I've thought a lot these past few days. I realized I was too much. I couldn't find the opportunity to apologize at school, so I came to your home." She scrutinized my expression. I shook my head. "No need for that. Get some rest. The Gaokao is tomorrow." Guyan bit her lip, troubled. "Can't you forgive me? Can we still be friends?" "No," I replied bluntly. Guyan paused, gazing at me in surprise. Perhaps in her mind, she believed that her personal admission of guilt would elicit my forgiveness. Thus, apart from sending a note over the past 20 days, she had not sought me out. All her thoughts had been devoted to Lufeng. Yet tonight, she too had returned home, prompting her spontaneous decision to seek me out and formally apologize. Then I would forgive her, and we would resume our childhood camaraderie. I would continue to cherish her, willing to give everything for her. Alas, that was no longer possible. Is it really necessary? I came to apologize in person. Can you not be so petty? Guyan was vexed, her brows knitted, regarding me with a hint of resentment. She had often looked at me this way in the past. Whenever I upset her, she would huff and glare, expecting me to placate her. I had always acquiesced. This time, however, I raised my head. I am indeed this petty. Guyan gritted her teeth, genuinely enraged. Lufeng was right. You bookworms, so focused on your studies, possess such narrow-mindedness. She berated me. After 18 years, you still don't act like a real man. You're like a resentful woman, nursing your anger for so long. The more she spoke, the angrier she became, frustrated by my unwillingness to relent. Look at Lufeng. He never lets anger linger overnight. He is so magnanimous and carefree. While you, how tiresome. These were her unfiltered thoughts. For 18 years, I have harbored these thoughts within me. I chuckled to myself in self-deprecation, recognizing that a person as frivolous as I could never be worthy of Guyan. She is selfish and spoiled, perfectly suited to someone like Lu Feng, and ne'er-do-well. I wish you and Lu Feng a swift arrival of offspring, I said calmly, my demeanor unruffled. Guyan fell silent, flinging her hand dismissively as she turned to leave, only to glance back after a few steps. Of course, we will have children soon, as tonight I shall accompany Lu Feng to a motel, entirely unconcerned about tomorrow's college entrance examination. Her tone was laced with a vindictive glee. She anticipated my alarm, my pleas for her to refrain from visiting the motel, my urging for her to take the examination seriously. She had always known how to manipulate my emotions. Suddenly, I recalled our pact to attend university together, a promise she had long since forgotten, while I had chosen to let it slip from my memory as well. My heart was as unyielding as stone. Whatever. The following dawn, I set out early for the examination hall. However, Guyan's parents intercepted me, their anxiety palpable as they inquired, "Ichuan, have you seen Guyan? We just discovered she is missing from her room." I paused, realizing that Guyan had indeed gone to the motel with Lu Feng. She had forsaken the most crucial examination of her life, sacrificing her future for a scoundrel. I remained composed, shaking my head and replying, "I do not know," before continuing on my way to the examination. From that moment, the fates of individuals diverged dramatically. I would aim for Peking University, soaring high, adorning my youthful dreams upon the crown of my life. As for Guyan, who could say? Who would care? After the examination concluded, I released a sigh of relief. My performance had been impeccable, as if the muses themselves had graced my writing. I felt confident about my acceptance into Peking University, poised to become the second student from our school in 5 years to achieve such a feat. My parents were elated upon hearing my confidence, their faces alight with joy. They promptly procured fine wine and sumptuous dishes, filling our home with laughter. My mother, ever the gossip, began to broach the subject of my romantic prospects. Once you are in university, you can date. If you and Gu Yan were to be together, she began, only to be halted by my father. Do not mention Gu Yan. I have heard from her parents that she has gone astray, spending her days with delinquents. It is infuriating. She will likely fail to gain admission to a good university. My father had caught wind of troubling rumors. My mother was taken aback. Is it true? Gu Yan, such a well-behaved child, has gone astray? No sooner had she spoken than Gu Yan's parents rushed in, their urgency evident. Each one, have you seen Gu Yan? She has run away from home. I shook my head. My parents pressed for details. Gu Yan's mother wiped her tears the night before the examination. Gu Yan went to a motel with a delinquent, which left her in no condition for the exam. She declared that since she would not be admitted to university anyway, we should not hold our hopes high. Gu Yan's father interjected. I was furious and struck her. In her anger, she locked herself away, and we only discovered her absence when we called her for dinner. My parents listened, their expressions one of shock. No one could have anticipated that the delightful young girl who once trailed behind me would descend to such depths. What shall we do? This is a calamity. How has my daughter turned into this? Mother Gu wept bitterly. Father Gu clenched his teeth and turned to seek help. It was not until 3 days later that I learned of Gu Yan's whereabouts. She had gone to the provincial capital with Lu Feng to work during the summer vacation. While it was referred to as summer work, in reality, it was merely a time for indulgence and merriment. When funds ran low, she would demand her parents to transfer money. Otherwise, she would refuse to return home. Her parents yielded, and, after much persuasion, they finally managed to coax her back at the end of June. After all, she had achieved results, and there was a semblance of responsibility to witness them. I, in turn, fulfilled my aspirations and was admitted to Peking University, emerging as the top student in the city, which sent ripples throughout. My parents beamed with pride and immediately took out 30,000 in savings to host a banquet with 30 tables at a restaurant, inviting guests from afar. During the feast, I spotted Gu Yan. She sat in a corner, engrossed in her phone, her lips curling into a smile. Clearly, she was still infatuated with Lu Feng. Mother Gu noticed me and quickly tugged at Gu Yan. Xiao Yin, each one is here. Gu Yan looked up and our eyes met. I nodded calmly. She pouted and casually remarked, Congratulations, you made a name for yourself through your studies. Mother Gu, flustered, scolded Gu Yan. What kind of attitude is that? Each one has been accepted into Peking University. And what about you? Just a mediocre college degree. What are you so proud of? Is Peking University really that impressive? I just don't like people who bury themselves in books. So dull and uninteresting. Gu Yan deliberately raised her voice. She still harbored resentment towards me, as I had not forgiven her. It was rather amusing, as if I were the one at fault. After the graduation banquet, I headed north in advance. I could hardly contain my excitement to step into the nation's premier institution, even though there was still over a month until classes commenced. My family was not particularly affluent, but due to my acceptance into Peking University, the school offered rewards, and a local real estate mogul also gifted me 100,000 yuan along with an apartment. Thus, I found myself among the wealthier peers. I rented a room near the university, fulfilling my desire to touch the pinnacle of academia, and I must admit, it was truly exhilarating. Once classes began, my joy only deepened. The rigors of military training washed away my youthful naivety, while the captivating courses filled the once empty chambers of my mind. In this esteemed institution, brimming with exceptional students, I managed to maintain my standing, not relegated to the fringes. Steadily, I progressed, becoming a rising star renowned for my eloquence at academic conferences. The pride of my mentors. I also attracted the attention of several remarkable young women who were not only talented, but also brimming with aspirations. Their demeanor exuding a commendable positivity. It was then that I realized how laughable Gu Yan was. I often pondered how foolish I had been in my youth to weep for her. During my graduate studies, I found love in the form of Qin Qingwei, a native of the provincial capital and the former provincial top scholar, while I was the city's top student. We were already familiar with each other, having crossed paths several times at school. I was captivated by her intellect, while she was drawn to my refinement. Yet, neither of us dared to voice our feelings. After all, true love is not so easily articulated. Until the time of my graduate studies, we were assigned to the same mentor, frequently traversing the campus together, which ultimately led us to hold hands. She stands at a height of 165 centimeters, her skin a delicate shade of rosy white, and her smile reveals a charming dimple. I often find myself playfully poking her dimple, which prompts her to feign annoyance, yet her laughter is always genuine and joyful. My bond with Qingyue was as strong as glue. However, both of us harbored lofty aspirations, and during our free time, we embarked on an entrepreneurial venture as university students. After careful analysis, Qingwei concluded that cross-border e-commerce held great promise, especially since her relatives were already entrenched in this field and could guide us. Thus, we delved in the world of cross-border e-commerce, a journey that lasted 2 years. Perhaps due to our intellectual acumen, we achieved modest success in a mere 2 years, generating an annual income nearing 1 million. I eagerly shared my joy with our mentor, who responded with a sidelong glance, that's merely average. Several of your seniors have already reached 1 million in annual income. A student from Peking University should not settle for less. His words invigorated me, igniting a determination in Qingwei and me to carve out our own path to success. Upon our graduation, we reached an annual income of 2 million. Qingwei decided to pursue a doctorate. Her reasoning was straightforward. She wanted to ensure a safety net for our future. The business is fundamentally stable now. You can manage it alone while I pursue my PhD. This way, if circumstances change, our family will remain secure. I raised an eyebrow, teasing, I see you have aspirations for an official position, as it seems easier. She giggled. Being an official is advantageous. In the future, we'll have connections between business and government. Oh, I'll explore more investment opportunities while you focus on investments. It's called complementarity. And so, we arranged our futures. I departed from the academic realm and plunged into the business world, while Qingwei continued her ascent towards higher academic pursuits. During this period, we were blessed with the gift of love, an unexpected turn of events. I asked Qingwei, should we have a child or not? She placed her hand on her belly and glared at me. What do you mean? Are you suggesting terminating the pregnancy? You can't possibly think of doing that to my child. She was determined to keep the baby, a sentiment not uncommon among doctoral candidates. It is indeed possible to pursue both academia and motherhood simultaneously. I embraced her in silence, nodding resolutely. This child shall come into the world. At the age of 26, our child was born. By this time, my company had been officially established. Previously, it had merely been a studio. The employees affectionately referred to my son as Little Boss, while I was the big boss. Qingwen named our son Zhou Baijun, with Bai symbolizing the cypress tree, resilient, upright, and composed, and June representing a refined gentleman, warm and gentle like jade. I inquired about her choice of name, to which she replied matter-of-factly, it's entirely up to you. Both characters represent you, the cypress and the gentleman. I was taken aback, memories of a long-forgotten individual flickering in my mind. I jested. Did you know some people think that cypress trees and gentlemen are dull and unremarkable, lacking any charisma? Oh, it would be so foolish. Qingwei couldn't comprehend. At my current level, I too found it difficult to understand. Perhaps only Gu Yan would grasp the truth. Such is life. What you discard as worthless may be cherished as a treasure by others. When Baijun was just 2 years old, I had firmly established myself in a company in Beijing, earning over 30 million annually. My parents, growing older, incessantly urged me to bring my grandson home. Although I had returned home several times over the years, each visit had been fleeting, and I had never taken Baijun along. After discussing with Qing Yu, I decided to take Baijun back to my hometown for a visit, contemplating the opportunity to invest in local development. Qing Yu had no objections and even inquired if I wanted her to accompany us. If you are busy, there's no need for you to return. Once you complete your doctorate, we can hold a grand banquet in our hometown, she suggested. We had already registered our marriage, but had yet to host a celebratory banquet. She nodded in agreement. All right, then you go back first and send my regards to my parents. I returned to my hometown with Baijun. The place had undergone significant urban development over the past few years, and I scarcely recognized some areas. Upon arriving home, my parents were overjoyed, eagerly embracing Baijun and neglecting to prepare a meal in their excitement. Baijun, though young, possessed an upright and graceful demeanor, mirroring my own calm disposition. This little fellow is truly handsome. With such poise, he is bound to achieve great things in the future, my father praised. Of course, with each one doing so well, how could his son not follow suit? My mother exclaimed proudly. During the meal, the little one quietly enjoyed his food, occasionally glancing at his grandparents, endearing himself to them. As my mother talked, she mentioned our neighbors. Oh, their situation is dire. They were already poor, and then Guyen's antics made it worse, she lamented. I chuckled dismissively. What is wrong with Guyen? Not long after you moved to Beijing, Guyen, driving a motorcycle without a license, crashed into an elderly man, and after compensating 30,000, she avoided prison. Their family fell apart overnight, my father explained. I heard the motorcycle belonged to a little thug. Her boyfriend. Absolutely revolting. They haven't broken up. Initially, they refused to part ways, and now they are probably stuck together. Two wretched souls. My eyebrows raised in surprise. After all these years, Guyen had not separated from Lu Feng. She truly had a penchant for scoundrels, which made me weep inwardly. What are they doing now? I inquired with curiosity. What else could they do? Guyen, now older, has finally begun to understand things and has started selling goods to make a living. Otherwise, they would starve. That ruffian, drowning in alcohol and gambling, relies entirely on her for support. We don't know the specifics and don't care to, my parents expressed, clearly reluctant to elaborate further. The next day, several city leaders unexpectedly visited me. I was not surprised. As a taxpayer, my information was readily accessible at the tax bureau. Surely the city's officials were aware of my financial success in Beijing. With an annual income in the tens of millions and substantial savings, I had become a formidable presence. A former top scholar of the city, making me an essential target for investment. Indeed, the leaders expressed their desire for me to invest back home, offer me the most favorable loans and prime land. I shared this sentiment, and we quickly reached an agreement on a 30 million investment deal, equivalent to my annual earnings. Qing Yu fully supported my decision, even arranging for my Maybach to be transported for Beijing. Since you intend to invest in your hometown, it would be impractical to walk every day. It would be more fitting to have a driver at your service. With that, I settled once again into the familiar embrace of the Maybach. The driver was selected from among the locals. One leisurely afternoon, yearning to revisit the old street of my childhood, I instructed the driver to take me there. Upon arrival, I was met with an astonishing throng of people. Mr. Zhou, Jinggang is the largest trendy street in our city. Besides the myriad of shops, there are numerous stalls, and traffic is a nightmare. The driver lamented about the congestion. I was unperturbed by the traffic. It provided an opportunity to revel in the long-lost vibrancy of the marketplace. I deliberately opened the window and began capturing photographs, a hobby that originated from Qingyue's teasing. She once remarked that my photography was too abstract, likening her likeness to a Van Gogh painting. Thus, I diligently honed my photographic skills, indulging in this passion during my leisure time. I aimed to capture scenes of my hometown to share with Qingyue. After taking just 2 photos, a disheveled woman in a gray outfit approached, brandishing a bouquet of flowers, and loudly proclaimed, "Sir, would you like to buy some flowers? Perfect for your wife." Her voice was harsh and grating, reminiscent of a wilted eggplant battered by wind and rain. Fawning ahead. She was overly enthusiastic, thrusting the roses toward the car, insisting, "Sir, buy flowers for your wife. They are truly wonderful." The driver, prioritizing safety, had no choice but to halt the vehicle, sternly rebuking her, "Move aside. Who will buy your flowers?" The woman smiled ingratiatingly. "How about a bouquet? They're really nice." I continued to scrutinize her, observing her sallow complexion, the bruises at the corners of her eyes, and the marks around her neck. "Guyen, how much you have changed." I set down my camera, reclining against the plush seat, quietly watching the flower seller. The driver exited the vehicle to confront her. "Are you blind? Do you even know who is in this car? Get away. Please, don't be angry, my flowers are really good," Guyen pleaded, her tone submissive and sycophantic. The driver, consumed by anger, knocked the flowers from her grasp, the vibrant petals scattering across the ground. "Does Mr. Zhou look like someone who buys flowers? Are you going to leave or not? What nonsense is this?" The driver's demeanor was menacing. Finally frightened, Guyen repeatedly apologized and hurriedly bent down to collect the fallen flowers, looking utterly disheveled. Onlookers began to murmur and point, some chastising the driver for his arrogance, accusing him of abusing his wealth and power. The driver was prepared to retort. I sighed and opened the door to exit the vehicle. I needed to prevent this from escalating into a public spectacle. "Shally, get back in the car." I shot a glare at the driver. He immediately subdued his bravado and complied, entering the vehicle with a newfound reverence. I noticed Guyen still on the ground, gathering her flowers, and knelt down to assist her. The onlookers, now intrigued, regarded me with a mixture of surprise and curiosity. Guyen, taken aback by my gesture, trembled as she expressed her gratitude. "Thank you, sir. Thank you." She cautiously lifted her gaze, examining me closely. Moments ago, I had been inside the car while she stood outside, clutching a large bouquet of roses and focused solely on offering her flowers, neglecting to truly see me. Now, she scrutinized me intently, and we were merely 10 centimeters apart. In an instant, She seemed struck by lightning, her entire body stiffening, and the flower she had just picked up fell to the ground once more. It felt as though we were separated by years of time, our gazes locked. It reminded me of many years ago when she awoke one afternoon, wiping the drool from her desk while petulantly glaring at me. "Zhou Yichuan, why don't you help me out a bit? My neck hurts from sleeping." It was also reminiscent of our weekends spent together. When she suddenly fixed her gaze upon me on the roller coaster, "Zhou Yichuan, I think I might have wet my pants." More so, it echoed her angry glances when she complained about my gentle dullness. "You're so boring. When will I ever meet a cool, rebellious bad boy?" We had exchanged glances countless times, yet never once was it out of love. Perhaps that was for the best, as I had found a better love. I smiled gently. "Your flowers are all scattered. Let me buy them for you." It was only then that Gu Yin came back to her senses, her eyes suddenly reddening. She stared blankly at me, my face, my clothes, my hair. Eventually, she lowered her head, her entire back trembling, as tears the size of beans silently fell to the ground. Her throat quivered, and she emitted a muffled sound, as if she wanted to say something. However, before she could utter a word, a drunken, disheveled man rushed over. Kicking Gu Yin, she cried out in pain, falling face first into the mud, her teeth knocked out. "You filthy woman! How can you sell flowers when they're all on the ground? Useless, worthless!" The burly man cursed loudly, kicking Gu Yin again. It was then that I recognized him as Lu Feng. He had gained considerable weight, a noticeable belly forming, and his once handsome face was marred by weariness and brutality. He resembled a character from a crime drama, the kind who would resort to violence when losing a bet. Yet I felt no fear. I found him rather laughable. I stood up and quietly observed him. Lu Feng regarded me with suspicion, suddenly recognizing me. "It's you? Zhou something Chuan?" "Zhou Yichuan," I replied, stating my name. He eyed me uncertainly, his gaze drifting to my Patek Philippe watch, then glancing at the nearby Maybach 680, swallowing hard in disbelief. At that moment, my driver, fearing for my safety, hurriedly approached, inviting me to get into the car while he dealt with the situation. He was not intimidated by the likes of Lu Feng. Yet, Lu Feng suddenly adopted a fawning demeanor, reaching out to shake my hand. "Brother Zhou, long time no see. You become quite the big boss. That's impressive." "Is this a Maybach?" "Remarkable." Lu Feng's palm was clammy with sweat, perhaps having gone 3 days without a shower. I withdrew my hand, remaining composed. "Lu Feng, I see you're doing well." I believed I bore no malice, yet my words and overly tranquil gaze startled Lu Feng, revealing his unease. After all, years ago in the restroom, he had humiliated me for his own amusement. "Brother Zhou, I was wrong. I was gravely mistaken. I truly deserve to be punished. It was this worthless woman who led me astray. Damn her, she's so cheap." Lu Feng hastily apologized, even kicking Gu Yin again. She collapsed to the ground, seemingly devoid of strength, crying quietly with her hands covering her face, too ashamed to show herself. I cast a fleeting glance at her and then smiled at Lu Feng, saying, "It's nothing, I merely passed by. Your flowers were damaged by my driver, and I shall compensate you." "No, no," Lu Feng replied, bowing deeply, his humility reaching an extreme. I turned to enter the car and casually instructed the driver, "Shao Li, give him 500. Reluctantly, the driver handed over the sum. Holding the money, Lu Feng's expression shifted from awkwardness to elation, for he had gained some funds to gamble with. "Thank you, Mr. Zhou. I truly appreciate it. Do visit often." Amidst Lu Feng's flattery and Gu Yin's sobs, the Maybach glided away with grace. My mood remained tranquil, though I no longer wished to take photographs. I felt like a chivalrous hero, with the affairs of the world encapsulated in silence. That evening, after inspecting the new base, I returned home to a lively atmosphere. I was greeted by 2 familiar faces, Gu Dad and Gu Mom, who arrived bearing an abundance of gifts, showering my parents with compliments. My parents, cradling by June, responded with casual banter. Upon noticing my return, Gu Dad and Gu Mom promptly rose to greet me, even bowing slightly. I held no ill will towards them and quickly interjected, "Uncle Annie, what is this?" Tears welled up in Gu Mom's eyes as she exclaimed, "Yichuan." Gu Yin suddenly returned home, saying she wanted to see you. Suddenly enlightened, I realized Gu Yin must have alerted them. I remained silent and went to embrace Bai Jun. Gu Dad hesitated before speaking. "Yichuan, you've seen how Gu Yin is. She deeply regrets her actions and even feels like giving up on life." I chose to remain mute. My mother interjected with a huff. "I say, dear neighbors, if you have something to say, please say it directly. My son is quite busy." City officials are allocating land for his company. Gumam quickly steered back to the main point, Ichuan, although my daughter has married Lu Feng. She has no children and no longer loves him. We were so disappointed in Gu Yin that we severed ties. She had no choice but to rely on Lu Feng. Gu Dad added, but Lu Feng is a villain. He married Gu Yin and forces her to earn money for rent and living expenses, threatening her with violence should she fail. Gu Yin has become numb, living in a state worse than death, unable even to escape. Today, upon seeing you, she suddenly found the courage to return, admitting her mistakes. Both parents' eyes glistened with tears, their hearts aching for their daughter. So, I raised my head slightly. The two exchanged glances and in unison pleaded, "Each one, could you please visit Gu Yin? She can only rely on you to pull her from his quagmire." The implication of their words was clear. They were asking me to rescue Gu Yin. Her body was broken, her spirit shattered. Only I could offer her a chance for rebirth. She wishes to see me? I pour myself a cup of tea. Yes, after returning. She has refused to eat or drink, merely staring into space. When asked what was wrong, she would cry, finally admitting that she wanted to see you. Gumam stepped a little closer. When we arrived, she voluntarily took a shower, wanted to clean herself up. She truly longs to meet you. I shall not go. Gudad and Gumam wiped their tears as they departed. Just then, Qingwei called via video, stating she had a surprise in store for me. I inquired about the surprise, and she playfully lifted her chin, saying, "I won't tell you. Just wait and see." Thus I waited. During this time, I rented an entire office floor near the plot of land I had invested in. This parcel is situated in the southern new district of the city, poised to be developed into a commercial street. I could secure subsequent funding through low-interest loans from the city. Consequently, I needed to rent an office nearby to serve as my headquarters, where I could gather my team. Given that the office was originally a commercial space, I effortlessly transformed it to suit my needs. As for the necessary permits and licenses, the city took care of everything for me. Thus, I established a company back in my hometown with a current staff of 12. I typically spend my time at the office, strategizing the company's growth and operations while remotely managing the business in Beijing. Life was comfortable until, for reasons unknown, news of my return to the company spread, leading a group of high school classmates to visit me. They arrived at my office, enthusiastically addressing me as boss and inviting me to a reunion. My gaze drifted past them to a woman in a white dress at the back of the crowd, Gu Yin. She had her hair styled in a high ponytail. The crisp white dress was tidy and clean, and her heavily powdered face concealed the traces of time as passage. If one did not look closely, she still possessed a hint of beauty. "Zhou, Gu Yin asked us to come. She said it has been ages since we gathered, and we should have a reunion." Someone explained. All eyes turned toward Gu Yin. She trembled with anxiety, struggling to raise her head, attempting a radiant smile that ended up appearing rather stiff. Yet, she managed to smile. "Zhou Yichuan, please join us for the reunion," she said, unconsciously brushing her hair aside, revealing a bruise behind her ear, which she quickly tried to hide. I gazed at her, the girl whom I'd loved for 18 years. She resembled a wilting kapok flower, having long lost her former brilliance. She attempted to bloom anew in the bitter cold, hoping to attract the bees that once adored her. However, this kapok had already been tainted by flies. I stood up, instructing my secretary to entertain the guests, and beckoned Gu Yin to follow me to a secluded area for a conversation. Her face lit up with joy, like a child who had just received candy, as she obediently followed me out of the office. We made our way to the stairwell. She grew tense again, her cheeks flushed, her eyes fixed on me without blinking. I averted my gaze, opting for a calm tone. "I have already made it clear to your parents that I do not wish to see you. It will be best for you to live well and move on from Lu Feng. There is no need to seek me out again." Gu Yin froze, her rosy complexion turning pale instantly. She stepped back, leaning against the wall, and began to retch. I understood her distress. Many years ago, I had also experienced such physical reactions outside a restroom, the result of profound heartache. Hence, I refrained from comforting her. She nearly collapsed, crouching with her knees drawn to her chest, pleading, "Ichuan, please don't treat me this way. I can't take it. I'm so sorry, I beg you." I stood with my back to her, gazing out at the sky. The sky was a deep azure, reminiscent of the skies above Peking University, akin to the celestial expanse once pointed out by Qingwei, as we laughed beneath its vastness. Thoughts of Qingwei brought a smile to my lips. Thus, I offered Gu Yin my final gesture of care. "Your parents have endured much hardship. I can assist in arranging employment for them. But beyond that, I am powerless. What about me? What am I to do? Gu Yin lifted her head, her eyes brimming with tears. I have lost everything. No qualifications, no abilities. I am but a withered flower. What am I to do? Each one, what am I to do? As long as one wishes to live, one will find a way. No. You know what I desire, each one. Will you come back to me? I will divorce Lu Feng. I only wish to be your woman. Gu Yan's emotions surged. She even lunged forward to embrace me. Each one, can we start anew? I know you have a wife and children. I am indifferent to that. I can be your mistress, your secret lover. I forcefully pushed her away, a wave of revulsion rising within me. Gu Yan, please have some self-respect. With a swift motion, she wiped her tears and tore at her dress, causing the pristine fabric to fall away, revealing an expanse of skin marred by bruises and scars. Each one, I love you. I was foolish before. You are not the dull, uninteresting man I once thought. So many women admire you, and I was blind to it. I was gravely mistaken. I acknowledge my errors. Look at my body. It still possesses some allure. Will you have me? I can give myself to you right now. Her words tumbled out in a frenzy as she continued to unfasten her dress. However, memories of her tryst with Lu Feng in that small inn surged to my mind, leaving me feeling nauseated. I turned to leave. Just then, a slender figure approached, and I was stunned to find my wife standing before me. Her countenance was radiant, adorned in a white gown, her hair elegantly styled, exuding an air of sophistication and grace. Qingwei, what brings you here? I exclaimed, both surprised and delighted. With a gentle smile, Qingwei replied, Did I not say I would surprise you? I have returned to arrange our wedding banquet, to let everyone know that I am your wife. There was a note of pride in her voice as her gaze fell upon Gu Yin, who stood frozen, staring blankly at Qingwei. Qingwei was like the moon above, while Gu Yin resembled the grass below, one exuding beauty and elegance, the other a picture of despair. Before Qingwei could utter a word, Gu Yin averted her gaze, overwhelmed, collapsing to the ground in silent tears, racked with anguish. Eventually, Qingwei and I celebrated our wedding. City officials graced the occasion, and the atmosphere was vibrant. A year later, the commercial street I invested in found its footing, emerging as the premier shopping destination in the Southern District. The cross-border e-commerce business in Beijing experienced an explosive growth, with orders flooding in at the peak. Earning 10 million in a single quarter, it seemed that becoming a billionaire was just around the corner. Meanwhile, news of Gu Yin reached me after a long silence. She had ignited the gas, perishing in a catastrophic explosion alongside Lu Feng. My mother remarked that Gu Yin had seemingly found some semblance of recovery, thanks to the jobs I had arranged for her parents. She dutifully remained by her parents' side, relying on them for support. Yet, she often succumbed to bouts of despair, weeping uncontrollably, lost in her own turmoil. Eventually, Lu Feng sought her out, pleading for her return, and to everyone's astonishment, she acquiesced, infuriating her parents to the brink of despair, leading them to resolve never to acknowledge her again. Unrestrained, Lu Feng treated Gu Yin like a mere servant, subjecting her to relentless torment. Ultimately, one fateful night, Gu Yin ignited the gas, choosing to perish alongside Lu Feng. As if her return was destined for such a tragic conclusion, her parents, consumed by grief, found themselves unable to confront the reality of their daughter's demise with indifference. Later, as they sorted through Gu Yan's belongings, they stumbled upon a letter she had left for me, which they entrusted to my care. I unfolded the letter, densely inscribed with her thoughts. Each one, your wife is truly beautiful. You two are well-matched and destined for happiness. I often ponder, if I had attended university with you back then, would my fate have been different? In my dreams, I married you. Truly, I regret my youthful foolishness. In hindsight, you are my only one. If there is an afterlife, I will never leave your side. I long to see you smile tenderly at me once more. The contents of the letter were a jumble, rife with errors. After reading it, I stood before the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing quietly at the spring sky. In this season, the K-pop flowers of my alma mater should be blooming. Would they still be as resplendent as in years past? Behind me, my wife approached, resting her chin on my shoulder. What are you thinking about? She inquired. I was reminiscing about the K-pop flowers at school. They're truly magnificent. I replied with a smile. Then let us go see them. Come on, let us take Baijun along, she suggested matter-of-factly. Upon reflection, I realized there was little to ponder. Flowers bloom and wither. Time flows like water. The wilted blooms have long since decayed, while the blossoms that flourish remain vibrant and brilliant. Let us go and witness this beauty. The end. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed it, feel free to subscribe.